Today's video is going to be a bit different. Most of my videos in the past have been about how to draw a face for beginners, and a lot of it was for proportions, you know. It was about getting your features right, placing the right spot on the face, a lot of stuff like that. But today's going to focus a bit more in on the finishing touches than the beginning. In particular, adding color, watercolor actually, on top of graphite. And yeah, this isn't watercolor paper, this is bristle board, so yeah, we're gonna see how that turns out. You know, this could be Frankenstein looking when it finishes. This could be cool. Maybe this is the start of something beautiful. We're gonna find out together. So without further ado, let's check out the drawing process. So now that we got that out of the way, we can move on to the shading process. And what I had in mind for the shading process was to carry on kind of the theme of this drawing. It's supposed to be a little bit more stylized, a little bit more kind of cartoony, with proportions that are a little bit closer to correct. So the way I wanted the shading to reflect that was I wanted to kind of show the mark making, not make it super realistic, you know, with all the core shadows, getting the halftones right and all that. I just kind of wanted to focus in on a graphic look, focus in on showing the marks a little bit more distance between each mark than I normally do, and have it look a little bit more like a sketch, you know, kind of open things up so that the watercolor, when I add it in, it has a space to kind of be watercolor, you know, to look clean. And just in case you guys were wondering how to do the earlier part of the drawing and even some of the shading, check out this video here. It kind of covers a lot of that with proportions and features and all that. I hope you guys got your fingers crossed, because here comes the potentially Frankenstein part. We're adding watercolor here. This is bristle board, you know, this isn't watercolor paper. This isn't like some kind of mixed media all-purpose thing. This is bristle board, so I'm just gonna start off with some skin color, you know, skin tone, some yellows, some reds, some oranges. Just trying to keep the color mixture kind of simple so that I can also just give it a clean, simple look. I'm thinking this is almost supposed to be a little bit cartoony in a way, the way that I'm handling the colors, you know. I'm not gonna hyper obsess over the color zones of the face. You know, I'm gonna try and make the cheeks a little bit redder, a little bit flusher, but I'm not gonna try and go too crazy beyond that. So, in a way, this is like the fun part. I get to just color into the lines, you know? I think this is a big part of what makes art so relaxing. Once you get the drawing done in a mixed media work like this is basically a coloring book, you know? Just color within the lines. You got one job. So one potential hazard with doing watercolor on bristleboard is if you you can't really do too many layers, you know? Watercolor, one of the beautiful things about it is getting all those layers, glazing, wet on wet and all that. Can't do that with bristleboard really, unless you got some crazy bristleboard. This is just some basic Strathmore. So I can really only put one layer of color down. Otherwise, the paper starts to like shred itself almost. It's kind of nasty. You're just destroying the paper. So that's something that looks like I'm gonna run into on the cheeks here as I add another little bit of red to the cheeks. I kind of dig into the paper a little bit, kind of rough it up, and that's something that I don't remember how I fixed it, but you're gonna see now as the water's just pooling. I was trying to get like a wet on wet while I was experimenting with this, but it just ended up, every stroke that I made at this point was just pushing little bits of paper off. And then I noticed afterwards and was like, oh no. Yeah, you can kind of see it there. You see how it's getting a little bit lighter, a little bit wider? That's more than just a highlight. That's also the paper, like the top surface of the paper removing. And, you know, I had to go back and paint the surface underneath the top surface of the paper. So, be careful guys when you're doing this. So at this point, I've put all the paint that the paper can take on all the skin areas. And you can see it's kind of got like a nice wash of color on top of the graphite. I was actually surprised. I thought that the graphite was gonna like dissolve into the water. You know, I thought that the graphite, this isn't any special type of graphite. It's not water soluble or anything, but I thought all graphite to a certain degree would just like wash away almost, but it's not what happened. I was really happy, especially here where I'm kind of adding the water directly onto those dark parts of the hair. So her hair had like a gradient pattern to it that I thought was pretty cool. The bottom was like a blondish color and the top was like a darkish brown. And I decided to add a little bit more red into the brown at the top part. Just for interest, you know. I'm just stylizing things, just trying to play around with the colors. Didn't really have too much of a plan on that part before I started the drawing. And I'm just progressively adding a little bit more yellow into the color as I go down to express that blonde, you know, that blonde color. Just a little bit more yellow. It's a little bit lighter. so at this point, I've gotten kind of the coloring of the subject done with the watercolor. I'm kind of happy with how it came out, you know. I thought that I was gonna like smear all the graphite off of it with the brush, but it worked out. The graphite held its own, it's still there. And now I'm just adding a little bit of a background color. Just wanted like a splash of green behind her. I felt like that might help pop her off the page a little bit. It's a complementary color to all the warms. And I guess it's a cool color, so it kind of recedes into the background too, right? So getting a little bit of mileage out of my color, my basic color theory that I know. And if you look at the cheek, it dried kind of funny. I know, it looks a little bit weird. Off camera, I basically go over it with a little bit more watercolor. I'm very careful when I go over it though, because yeah, that paper is raw in that spot right there. So if I'm not super gentle, if I'm anything more than gentle, then that paper is gonna, I don't know, I might poke all the way through it, because yeah, this paper does not take kindly to water. So that pretty much sums things up. What I want to know from you guys is if you've done any weird Frankenstein mixtures of, you know, mixed media stuff like I have here. I guess in a way this isn't all that Frankenstein. It could be a lot weirder, so educate me. Let me know something crazy you've done in the comments. I'd love to know that. And beyond that, let me know what you think about the quality of this video. I'm trying to move more into this direction with a little bit more, you know, get the music going, get some transitions going, you know, make it a little bit more interesting for you guys. Let me know what you think. If you like where it's headed, by all means, subscribe, like the video, show me some love. Have a good one, guys.